The distant stars of the Arcturus sector twinkled like scattered diamonds against the velvet of space. Among them, a sleek human starship cut through the darkness, moving with quiet precision. Captain Elias Grant sat in the command chair, fingers tapping lightly on the control console. The ship was on a routine diplomatic mission, but routine was never routine when humans ventured into alien territories. Elias had always been different from the other pilots in the Galactic Union fleet. While most relied on advanced technology and sheer firepower, he trusted his instincts, his wits, and the unshakable belief that humans could always find a way when no one else could. He glanced at the holographic star map floating in front of him. The planet Velithia loomed ahead, a swirling world of cobalt oceans and silver forests, home to one of the most advanced alien civilizations in the sector. "Approaching the atmosphere," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice steady despite the tension that always accompanied entry into foreign space. Elias nodded. "Keep sensors online. I want to know everything before we touch down." "Captain," Mara said, pointing to the readings, "there's a high-energy disturbance. It's moving fast, and it's coming from the Royal District." It moved with skill, but the unmistakable mark of danger was clear. It was a kidnapping in progress. "Is that—" Mara's voice trailed off. Elias' jaw tightened. "The princess?" He had read about her in diplomatic reports. Lyria was the only daughter of Emperor Calith, the ruler of Velithia, and her intelligence and diplomacy were well known across several star systems. The idea that anyone would try to abduct her was unthinkable, but the readings were undeniable. "Prepare for immediate intervention. We're going in." Towers flashed past, their surfaces shimmering with energy shields, but the mercenaries' ship was ahead, moving unpredictably as if sensing pursuit. Elias' heart pounded. Saving a life was always a risk, but saving a princess, that carried the weight of entire civilizations. He adjusted the ship's thrusters, lining up for a risky maneuver that no training manual would ever suggest. Humans survived in impossible situations because they dared where others hesitated. The enemy ship swooped through an open skybridge connecting two massive towers. Elias followed, his shuttle skimming mere meters above the glowing surface. Sparks erupted as the enemy craft grazed the bridge. "They know we're coming," Mara said, voice tense. "They're trying to lose us." He wasn't just fighting for the princess. He was fighting against an unseen hand that dared to manipulate events against him. He fired a series of non-lethal ion pulses designed to disable the ship's engines temporarily. The enemy craft shuddered and began to drift. "Now!" Elias shouted. The shuttle shot forward, slamming into the side of the mercenary ship with precision. The collision was enough to force it into a slow spin. "Brace for boarding," Elias said. He activated the magnetized grappling lines, and the shuttle latched onto the enemy craft. With a hiss of compressed air, the boarding hatch opened. Mara readied the boarding gear. Elias leapt first, moving with fluid agility, human reflexes allowing him to anticipate every movement of the alien ship. Inside, the ship was chaotic. Sparks flew from broken consoles, and the low hum of failing engines filled the air. The mercenaries were armed, but they were not expecting a human to board mid-flight, and hesitation cost them. He moved quickly, disabling one with a sweep of his arm and a clever use of momentum, then knocking another unconscious with a single precise strike. His movements were untrained in alien combat styles, but that was precisely the advantage. They expected technique. They did not expect raw adaptability. Finally, he reached the cabin where Lyria was restrained. She looked up, fear flashing in her eyes, but there was also something else, recognition, understanding, and a spark of hope. "Captain Grant," she said, voice steady despite the situation, "you've come." Humans survive impossible odds every day. The enemy ship exploded behind them in a brilliant fireball, painting the sky with orange and blue. Lyria caught her breath, astonished by the human audacity. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved me. You rely on wit, courage, and something I cannot name." But as the shuttle doors closed, a deep voice resonated through the communication channel. "Captain Elias Grant," said the voice. Elias froze. It was calm, controlled, yet carried an authority that shook even seasoned diplomats. "You have saved my daughter. For that you are recognized across my empire. But there is a matter that now requires your attention." He knew of the voice. Emperor Calith, ruler of Velithia, known for his wisdom and strict adherence to honor. To have caught his attention so swiftly was both a privilege and a warning. "You will come to the palace immediately," the voice continued. "There is a debt that must be repaid." Ilias' mind raced. He had come here for diplomacy, for peaceful engagement. And yet he had waded into the currents of alien politics faster than he could have anticipated. The shuttle ascended again, heading toward the Imperial Palace. Below, the city sprawled like a silver web, beautiful yet imposing. Ilias thought about the princess he had just saved. Her trust in him, her calm bravery. It reminded him why humans had always survived against overwhelming odds, courage and cleverness. And yet, he knew that meeting an emperor after saving his daughter would not be simple. This was a man whose civilization had lasted for millennia, a ruler who would expect loyalty, honor, and obedience, qualities humans had, but in ways unfamiliar to aliens. Ilias inhaled, steadying himself. "Whatever comes," he said softly to Myra, "humans have a way of making the impossible possible." Lyria's gaze met his, a mixture of gratitude and concern. "Follow me," said a palace aide. Ilias nodded. His feet moved, carrying him toward a destiny he had not sought but could not escape. As they approached the grand hall, the doors swung open, revealing Emperor Caliph seated upon a throne that seemed carved from light itself. His eyes, deep and calculating, rested on Ilias. The room was silent, every breath measured. "You have done what many could not," the emperor said. His voice carried the weight of authority, of history, of an empire behind it. "For saving my daughter, you have my gratitude, but gratitude carries obligations. I am ready to face any challenge, Your Majesty." The grand hall of the imperial palace stretched endlessly, walls gleaming with strange metals that reflected light in colors Ilias had never seen. He stood before Emperor Caliph, whose presence alone seemed to shift the air around him. The human's mind raced, aware that every word, every gesture could be scrutinized. "You have saved my daughter," Caliph began again, his voice steady but heavy with authority. "And in doing so, you have proven the strength and courage of your people. I will not deny that humans are remarkable. In Velithia, actions carry consequences. The lives we protect bind us to obligations, and those obligations are not taken lightly. Reason is a human concept," he said, a faint smile playing at the edge of his lips. "In my empire, the rules are different. You have saved Lyria, my only daughter. That is a debt that cannot be repaid with words or simple gestures. It demands a bond, a permanent bond." "A bond? Your Majesty, Ilias began, but Caliph raised a hand. "Listen carefully. I do not seek to force her nor to coerce you," the emperor said. "But in Velithia, honor binds the saved and the savior. You have been recognized as a protector, and the debt is clear. This is the way our people ensure balance, trust, and loyalty. I give you one galactic cycle to consider. Your choice will shape not only your future, but that of my empire." "Your Majesty," Ilias said carefully, "I will consider your proposal, but I need to understand your culture better and my obligations if I accept. There is much about your customs I do not know. You will spend the cycle in the palace, learning the ways of Velithia, understanding the duties expected of one who enters such a bond. Lyria will be your guide." Walls shimmered as if alive, and the floor pulsed softly beneath his feet. Every surface seemed to hum with energy, an almost invisible current connecting the building. He was shown to a suite of rooms prepared for his stay, simple by Velithian standards, yet more luxurious than anything he had ever seen on Earth. A small note rested on the table: "Prepare yourself. Your lessons begin at dawn." Before he could settle, a voice spoke behind him. "You have done what no human should dare," it said. Ilias turned to see Lyria standing in the doorway, her expression calm, though her eyes revealed curiosity and something deeper, appraisal. "I never thought I would see a human in person," she said softly. "And yet here you are, alive, standing before me. I do have a tendency to survive improbable situations. You might call it human resilience. I always can." Lyria led him through the palace, showing him ceremonial practices, the intricacies of Velithian etiquette, and the responsibilities of someone who might become part of the royal household. Ilias listened, asked questions, and observed with a careful attention that humans often excelled at. He noted the nuances, the subtle shifts in posture, the rhythm of speech, the delicate balance between honor and authority. During meals, he sat at the head of a table, surrounded by alien nobles. He observed and learned their ways of negotiation, understanding quickly that patience and careful words were often more effective than force. The aliens were brilliant, and yet there was a rigidity to their methods. Humans, he realized, often thrived where rigidity failed. As the day progressed, Ilias began to sense that Lyria's role as a teacher was not just about cultural lessons. She tested him. She asked questions designed to probe his morality, his quick thinking, and his sense of justice. When confronted with hypothetical dilemmas, Elia's human creativity and adaptability surprised even her. "You see," she said one evening, as they walked in the palace gardens beneath twin moons, "humans are unpredictable. In a galaxy ruled by logic and tradition, unpredictability is dangerous and valuable. That's our way." He grabbed Lyria's arm, guiding her to a safer corridor. Outside, palace guards scrambled and distant shouts carried an urgent tension. "What is happening?" Elias asked, his mind already calculating. "Unrest," Lyria said, her voice tight. "Some of the nobles who resented my father's rule have taken advantage of your presence, your actions. They see an opportunity to challenge him, to destabilize the empire." Below, figures moved quickly, shadows against the illuminated city streets. Armed guards clashed with groups of rebels who seemed coordinated but not skilled enough to match the palace's defenses. "Do something," Lyria urged, panic threading her voice. Elias' mind raced. He had no troops here, no weapons suited for large-scale combat, and yet humans thrived in improvisation. He spotted energy conduits along the building's edges, small drones that could be redirected, and transport lifts designed for maintenance. "Cover me," he said to Lyria. She looked startled but nodded, trusting him in a way few could. Elias moved swiftly, using a combination of stealth, timing, and quick thinking. He activated drones to create diversions, rerouted energy fields to block critical paths, and guided palace guards to intercept the rebels efficiently. The humans' ability to improvise under pressure allowed them to counter the threat without large-scale destruction. Within an hour, the immediate danger was contained. The plaza was cleared, the rebels captured or driven off, and the Emperor was informed of Elias' actions. Kaleth's voice came through the communication channel, calm but carrying an unmistakable note of approval. "You have handled this well, human," he said. "Your ingenuity has protected my empire and my daughter." "Just doing what had to be done, Your Majesty." 7 days to decide a path that could bind him forever. And yet, in these hours of learning, fighting, and surviving, he began to see the truth. Humans were not only capable of survival, they could thrive, even in alien worlds, by thinking differently, by daring to act where others hesitated. As he prepared for rest that night, Elias realized that the week ahead would test more than his courage. It would test his mind, his morals, and perhaps his heart. The debt to the princess was real, but so was the opportunity to show that humanity could be a force for alliance, not just survival. And somewhere deep within, he felt a spark of anticipation. For the first time, he understood that saving a life could lead to adventures far greater than any he had imagined, stretching across galaxies and into the heart of an empire. The morning light spilled across the palace gardens, illuminating the delicate alien flora that shimmered faintly in silver and blue. Elias stood at the edge of a marble walkway, taking in the vast expanse of the Emperor's domain. The palace was a world unto itself, a combination of living architecture and technology, and Elias knew he had only scratched the surface of its secrets. Lyria approached, moving with the graceful ease of someone born into royalty. "Today," she said, "you begin the formal lessons. You must learn our customs, our ways of thinking, and our values. It will not be easy. Your success will determine how the Emperor sees you and how safe you are in this palace." "First," she said, "you must understand honor in Velithia. It is not like your human honor. It is tied to actions, reputation, and the balance of our empire. One mistake can ripple through generations." In each, Elias had to decide quickly, and the outcomes were evaluated not only for their morality but for their social and political implications. His human perspective was unusual for the aliens. Where they saw rigid rules, he saw flexibility. Where they saw danger, he saw opportunity. "You are different," Lyria said after the third exercise. "Humans think laterally. You see possibilities where others see only restrictions. That is dangerous but useful. This time, it is a test orchestrated by the Emperor himself. You will be evaluated not just on skill, but on judgment." He moved with quick assessment and decisive action, using the environment to his advantage. Bridges were rerouted, energy barriers activated, and drones deployed to block critical paths. He thought creatively, combining human improvisation with the tools at his disposal. Lyria observed closely. "You see patterns," she said, "and you act before fear paralyses you. That is rare." He met nobles who valued tradition above all, advisors who measured every word for hidden meaning, and emissaries from other worlds who sought to manipulate the Velithian court. Every conversation was a test, every meeting a puzzle. Elias quickly realized that human adaptability was his greatest advantage. While the aliens followed strict protocol, he listened, observed, and then acted. He noticed inconsistencies in their rules, gaps in their logic, and opportunities where careful negotiation could prevent conflict. One afternoon, as he walked through the palace corridors with Lyria, he noticed a subtle shift in the way some nobles moved and glanced at him. "Do you see that?" he asked quietly. Lyria followed his gaze. "Yes. You have noticed the faction that opposes your presence. They resent the human who interfered in their plans and saved me. You must remain vigilant." One evening, as the palace lights glowed softly against the twin moons, Lyria led him to a balcony overlooking the city. "You have learned quickly," she said, "but knowledge alone is not enough. You must act wisely, or all you have gained could be undone. If I can predict their actions, I can counter them before they strike." The palace was thrown into chaos when a group of nobles attempted to manipulate an energy grid to create a distraction during a ceremonial event. Their goal was to make it appear that the emperor had failed to protect his daughter, undermining his authority. Elias acted immediately. He rerouted power flows, intercepted key control panels, and guided palace security to neutralize the threat. By the time the conspirators realized the human had predicted their actions, it was too late. Their plan was exposed, and the emperor was informed. Calith's voice resonated through the communication channel, calm but firm. "Captain Grant, your insight and decisiveness have prevented disaster. You have shown understanding, courage, and loyalty. These are qualities my empire values highly. I trust you more with every passing day." Lyria introduced him to advanced diplomatic theory, alien history, and the principles of interstellar law. Elias absorbed everything with determination, realizing that understanding the rules was the only way to bend them safely. In private moments, Lyria shared her perspective on leadership. She spoke of the burdens of royalty, the weight of responsibility, and the constant scrutiny she faced. Elias listened, realizing that saving her had been only the first step. Understanding her world was far more complex. "You see, Captain Grant," she said one evening as they walked through a garden lit with bioluminescent flora, "being royal is not just about ceremony or power. Every action carries meaning, every word can shape alliances. You must consider the ripple effects of your choices. That is why you are so dangerous and why I trust you." "They plan to act during the next ceremonial gathering," he said. "If we do nothing, they could succeed. We need to alert the emperor discreetly and prepare a countermeasure." The conspirators attempted to execute their plan, but Elias anticipated every move. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Lyria's guidance, they redirected energy flows, isolated key attackers, and signaled palace security. The conspirators were captured before they could carry out their plot, and the emperor was informed of their betrayal. Calith's approval was evident, though his expression remained regal and reserved. "You have proven your worth beyond expectations, Captain Grant," he said. "Your ability to observe, think, and act decisively has strengthened my empire and my daughter's safety. You honor us all." "I only did what I had to." Learning her world, navigating its dangers, and confronting its threats had proven something he had always known. Humans were capable of more than survival. They could thrive, even in the most alien of circumstances, if they dared to think differently, act boldly, and trust in themselves. As the twin moons rose high above the palace, Elias felt the weight of the week ahead. The emperor's demand still loomed, a bond that could shape the future of an empire. But Elias now had confidence. He understood the challenges, the risks, and the power of human adaptability. Whatever came next, he would face it with courage and cunning. And somewhere deep within, he knew that saving the princess had changed more than her fate. It had changed his own, and the course of human influence in the galaxy. The palace was quiet, but Elias knew the calm was only temporary. His instincts, sharpened by human experience and the recent tests, warned him that danger was still near. Lyria had returned to her quarters, but Elias could feel the tension lingering in the air, a subtle hum of threat beneath the beauty of the palace. He moved through the corridors, his senses alert. Shadows flickered under the alien lights, and every reflection on the polished surfaces seemed to hint at movement. He had learned much about the palace and its inhabitants, yet he also knew that the nobles who opposed the emperor were cunning, patient, and willing to wait for the perfect opportunity. A sudden alarm shattered the silence. Lights flashed red along the hallways, and the low hum of the palace energy fields shifted into an urgent rhythm. Elia's heart rate quickened. "They've made their move," he muttered. He ran toward the communications center, but Lyria's voice came through the palace intercom. "Captain Grant, they've taken the East Wing. The ceremonial hall is under threat." He sprinted toward the East Wing, his mind calculating every step, every possible ambush. The corridors twisted in ways humans were not accustomed to, but his adaptability allowed him to navigate them with speed and precision. He reached a balcony overlooking the hall, and the scene below made his jaw tighten. A group of nobles, masked and armed, had taken control of the ceremonial hall. They were moving quickly, attempting to trap the Emperor and Lyria within. Security forces clashed with them, but the attackers had the advantage of planning and surprise. Elias assessed the situation. Direct confrontation would be risky, and the palace guards were already engaged. He needed a way to outsmart them, to turn their own plan against them. Using his communicator, he signaled Lyria. "Move to the west exit. I'll create a diversion." His human reflexes allowed him to predict the movements of the nobles, avoiding patrols and security bots alike. He reached a control panel near the ceiling and hacked into the building systems, rerouting energy flows to seal doors and isolate the conspirators. Lights flickered, and the attackers hesitated, unsure of what was happening. "Captain Grant," Lyria said, her voice near panic, "they're trying to get to me." It was a risky move, but the human's ability to calculate risk quickly was unmatched. He leapt from the balcony above, landing silently behind one of the conspirators and incapacitating him with a precise strike. Another two went down as he moved, disarming them with quick, efficient motions. The fourth reached for a weapon, but Elias anticipated the movement, knocking it aside and pushing the noble toward the containment field he had activated moments before. Lyria stared wide-eyed as Elias reached her side. "Come on," he said, extending his hand. She took it without hesitation, trusting him completely. Together, they moved toward the west exit, where palace guards had secured a safe path. Once outside, Elias took a moment to catch his breath. The night sky stretched above them, stars glittering across the void. Below, the city remained unaware of how close it had come to chaos. "They were more organized than I expected," Elias said, scanning the palace from the balcony. "Someone helped them, provided plans or inside information. Humans survive because we adapt, because we anticipate when others do not. That is how we survive and thrive." The conspirators' plans unraveled under his guidance, and by dawn the palace was secure. The Emperor appeared in the communication chamber, his voice calm but carrying undeniable approval. "Captain Grant, your actions have saved my daughter and my empire from a serious threat. You have demonstrated courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond measure." "I only did what had to be done, Your Majesty. You have changed how I see the strength of humans." Saving the princess had been one thing, but protecting her from a palace conspiracy required more: foresight, creativity, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Humans had survived against impossible odds for millennia, and here in an alien empire, that resilience had once again proven itself. As the palace settled back into routine, Elias and Lyria walked through the gardens. The bioluminescent plants glowed softly, reflecting in the pools of water that lined the paths. "The week is almost over," Lyria said, her voice quiet. "Soon you must decide about the Emperor's request. We survive, we thrive, and we find ways to protect what we care about." Yet it had also become a place where human ingenuity had made a difference, where quick thinking and courage had thwarted those who sought chaos. Elias' mind wandered briefly to the future. The Emperor's demand still weighed heavily upon him. Accepting it would bind him to a life he had not chosen, in a world vastly different from his own. Yet he could see the potential for alliance, for unity between humans and the Velithians, and for a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Lyria's hand found his, a subtle reminder of the bond they had formed. "Whatever you decide," she said, "know that you have proven yourself beyond expectation. The palace and I owe you much." "I'll think carefully, but I know one thing: humans do not shy away from challenges. We face them, adapt, and emerge stronger." Each night, he looked out at the stars, remembering the shuttle ride that had brought him here and the rescue that had set this entire chain of events into motion. He realized that this experience had changed him. Saving the princess was no longer just an act of heroism. It had become a journey of learning, of testing limits, and of understanding how human ingenuity could leave its mark on a galaxy far beyond Earth. When the final day of the galactic cycle arrived, Elias felt a mixture of anticipation and resolve. He had survived tests, navigated political intrigue, and protected the palace from danger. He had earned trust and respect, not through force alone, but through cleverness, courage, and adaptability. As he stood beside Lyria in the palace gardens, the twin moons casting silver light across the landscape, he knew the moment to make his decision was near. Whatever choice he made would shape not only his life, but the future of the Emperor's empire and the bond between their peoples. And for the first time, Elias understood the full weight and the full potential of human strength in the galaxy. The palace gardens were quiet under the twin moons, a soft silver light reflecting off the crystalline leaves and tranquil pools. Elias stood at the edge of the walkway, feeling the weight of the Emperor's demand pressing on him. The week had passed in a blur of lessons, challenges, and danger, and now the moment had come. One choice could change the future of an empire and the place of humans in the galaxy. Lyria approached, her expression calm but unreadable. "The time has come, Captain Grant," she said softly. "You know what the Emperor expects. And I've thought about it every day since I arrived. It's not just about a bond with you, Lyria. It's about understanding your people, your empire, and the responsibility I would take on. That is why you survived when others might have failed." And now he understood that strength was not just about survival. It was about using that skill to protect, to unite, and to create opportunities where none seemed to exist. "I want to protect your world," he said finally. "Not because I'm forced to, but because I can, and because I believe humans and Velithians can accomplish great things together. If we work as partners, combining our strengths, I think we could achieve more than either of our peoples could alone." The palace was filled with attendants and guards, all waiting to hear Elias' decision. Emperor Calith sat upon his throne, composed and watchful, yet there was a spark of anticipation in his eyes. Elias stepped forward, meeting the Emperor's gaze. "Your Majesty," he began, "I have considered your request carefully. I do not take it lightly. I understand the importance of the bond you ask for and the consequences of my choice. I wish to enter a partnership with your daughter, one built on mutual respect, trust, and cooperation. Not as a servant or subject, but as an ally and protector, committed to the prosperity of your empire and the safety of your people." Every noble, every guard, and every attendant waited for Calith's response. The Emperor's eyes studied Elias, measuring the sincerity and intent behind his words. After a long moment, he nodded. "You have spoken wisely, Captain Grant. You have demonstrated the qualities I value: courage, intelligence, loyalty, and foresight. A bond built on such principles is acceptable. Not as tradition demands, but as honor requires. You have chosen not out of fear or obligation, but out of understanding and commitment. Together, we will work to strengthen the bonds between our peoples and protect what is most important. Let this partnership be a symbol to all: courage and wisdom, human and Velithian, united." In the days that followed, Elias and Lyria worked side by side. He helped modernize certain palace systems using human ingenuity, suggesting new strategies for security, communication, and governance. Lyria shared knowledge of diplomacy and alien technology, teaching him how to navigate complex negotiations with precision and subtlety. Humans were known for adaptability, and Elias demonstrated it in every action. Where the Velithians relied on strict procedure, he introduced creative solutions that streamlined operations, prevented future conspiracies, and strengthened the empire's defenses. The palace staff began to respect him not just for his heroism, but for his intelligence and decisiveness. Nobles who had once questioned his presence began to see the value of human perspective. Elias' actions showed that humans could complement alien civilizations, bringing innovation and bold thinking where tradition alone could not. One evening, Elias and Lyria walked through the palace gardens, now peaceful and vibrant after the turmoil of recent events. The twin moons reflected off the water, casting shimmering patterns on the paths. "You've changed things here," Lyria said softly. "Not just in the palace, but in the hearts of those around you. Humans have left their mark on Velithia. We can create, improve, and inspire, even in a world that isn't our own." Saving the princess had brought danger, lessons, and challenges, but it had also led to understanding, trust, and a future that he could shape. "And now," he said, "we have the chance to face the galaxy together as allies, humans and Velithians side by side. Ilias trained palace guards in human tactical thinking, helped devise security protocols that combined both species, strengths, and worked with Lyria on diplomatic matters that reached across star systems. The bond between human and princess became a symbol, showing that cooperation, ingenuity, and trust could bridge worlds. Word spread throughout the Empire and beyond. Humans, once considered clever but unpredictable, were now seen as partners, capable of contributing to the stability and growth of alien civilizations. The Emperor's initial doubt transformed into admiration for Ilias' ability to think strategically, act decisively, and remain honorable in every action. One evening, as Ilias walked alone on a balcony overlooking the city, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From the rescue of a princess in danger to navigating political conspiracies, learning a complex alien culture, and finally forming a partnership with the princess, he realized that every step had proven one thing: human potential was limitless when courage, intelligence, and morality guided it. Lyria joined him quietly, her presence comforting. "You're thinking about the future," she said softly. Ilias nodded. "I am. Humans have survived against impossible odds, but now we have the chance to thrive, not just survive, but contribute, lead, and inspire. Here in your world, I see that possibility. Together, we will show that courage and wisdom, human and Velithian, can create a future stronger than either could alone." Challenges would arise, threats would come, and the galaxy would continue to test both humans and Velithians. But he was ready. They had faced danger, outsmarted conspirators, and forged a bond built on trust and understanding. Humanity had not only survived, it had proven that it could thrive, even in a universe of alien civilizations. The Emperor's decree, once a source of fear and uncertainty, now represented possibility. Ilias had turned obligation into opportunity, proving that humans could rise to any challenge with ingenuity, courage, and honor. As the stars stretched endlessly above them, Ilias felt a quiet pride. Saving a princess had led to more than gratitude. It had led to partnership, to recognition, and to the chance to make a lasting impact. And for the first time in his life, he saw clearly that humans were not merely survivors. They were innovators, protectors, and pioneers capable of leaving their mark on the galaxy. Lyria's hand found his, a reminder of the bond they shared. "Whatever comes next," she said, "we face it together." And Ilias knew, deep in his heart, that this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven itself once again, clever, brave, and unbreakable.